Hello out there, this is Classic Vinyl Collectibles, and it's been a while since I've made a video. I've had one of my subscribers say we need to see another video, so it's time to make one. And the reason why I haven't been making any is I've been busy with my other channel, which is dedicated to caving and abandoned mine exploring. That channel is called Above, Below, and Beyond Caving. So if you'd like to check out what we do under the earth and below the surface, there's all those videos. So we've been busy doing that. But I thought I would continue with my new wave synth pop record collection here, which is behind the camera. You can't see that. All this behind me is all my rave, house, funk and trance, funk house, all that stuff. What a great time that was. But behind the camera is all of my 80s, and I'm continuing now with my new wave and synth pop. And I couldn't think of a different name, so I'm just going to keep naming it New Wave Synth Pop. And this is going to be, I believe this is part 8. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if it's part 8 or 9, but we're going to continue as I'm going alphabetical order. I've already done A through L, and if you like to look back on those videos, you'll see my new wave and synth pop collection of all those artists with those, starting with those letters. If you go further back on my channel, you will see my entire Duran Duran vinyl collection, and that is my 7-inch singles, picture disc, 12-inch singles, LPs, bootlegs, all that unofficial stuff that's been coming out over the years, and official releases from all over the world. So look back on my Duran Duran collection if you're a big fan of theirs. So this one is going to be New Wave Synth Pop, and we're continuing on the alphabet artists that start with N and M. All right? And plus, I'm out in my studio right now. So I've got my turntables, all the stuff I used to do when I was DJing. That's to the left of me here. So let's get started here. Remember, this song, pop music, great club track here. I don't quite understand the cover, but when I first saw it, even then I didn't know really what it meant, nor do I even know what that is on the back side. But what a fantastic track this is. Pop music. Still excellent song to play today at parties. Now, MTV, when they used to play music videos, remember that back then? Music television was MTV. One of the best videos I look forward to that would be coming on was this one here. Peter Schilling, Major Tom. And then the song was when they do the countdown, 4, 3, 2, 1. Earth is calling jamming track. If you ever look it up, you'll know it. And here's the record on the inside. Peter Schilling, Major Tom. I think this might actually be early 90s, but it's such a great song. It's Christiane from the Pretenders. If you remember Enigma or Soul to Soul, Back to Life, it has that kind of beat to it, but this is a great track. If you want to look this one up, and I've been suggesting to my viewers and subscribers what I'm showing to you. If you ever want to make a playlist, start writing some of this stuff down, make a playlist on Spotify or YouTube, and you'll see what's been out all this time. Men Without Hats, Pop Goes the World. Another really nice song too. It wasn't as big, I don't think, as this one. So let me spend a moment on this. Safety Dance. I first heard this on The Quake, KQAK, back in the Bay Area. When this came out, they played the long version, and it has the intro of the beats, and his voice comes in echoing, and that was S-A-F-E-T-Y, Safety Dance. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know the track. We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Then later on, her voice comes in and also echoes. So that's one of my favorite tracks, especially from that radio station that was playing it. Magazine 60, they were kind of more of an Italo disco band, but this one right here, this was first shown to be at a club in Fremont in the Bay Area called Stargaze. It was an all ages, well, more of an underage club where teenagers can go to. I think it was 1985. This came out in, doesn't say on here. Yeah, 85. So I got this along with Trans X, Living on Video, if you remember that. And I was in the club. They had a record store upstairs. Remember those days, record stores? And someone showed this to me. And this was, part of it's in Spanish, and there's a telephone call. But if you want a great club track also is this one right here, Magazine 60 Don Quixote. Before I move on here, I got a couple of others that I left out back in the section of C artists. And I wanted to bring this one out because the club I used to go to in Alameda, my friend that was the DJ there played this track. I had never heard it before, and this was a floor filler. If you ever look at the video too, what a great song this is. Out of Italy, this is Cube, Loves Taboo. What a great song this is. It's got horns in it, really funky beats. If you were to play this at a club or at a party today, it would still fill the floor, even if people didn't know what it was. But let me tell you, they're going to know what it is because it's just that great of a song. Moving on here, this was more 1979, but this release in my hand came out, I think it was about 86, maybe even 87, but none other than Gary Newman, Cars. And the words of this song were, "Here in my car, I feel safest of all." Remember the video had a lot of neon in it, and Gary Newman was just that awesome to watch. Great song, still even played a lot today. And I'm going to save the one in front of me for last, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser. What is the biggest selling 12-inch single of all time? Let that one sit and question for a moment, see if you're answering it right away, because I'm going to show that to you at the end. Another one that my buddy used to play was this one. I really like this one, Holiday Rap. It's these two guys rapping to Holiday by Madonna. It's just the beats, the whole background, but these guys are rapping on top of it. It was another great club track. In fact, I think everything I show is great club tracks, but this was a good one too. If you want to look this one up, sorry about the glare. But Holiday Rap, MC Micro G, DJ Sven. Speaking of Madonna, I'm not a huge Madonna fan. I really like the work that she's done, especially her slow ballads. She was really the diva of the 80s moving into the 90s. But this was my favorite, and especially the videos taken from that movie that she did. But this one here, Get Into the Groove. Boy, you got to prove your love to me. Great sound of the 80s instruments they were using at that time with the keyboards and drum machines. This right here would be a really good floor filler as well. Good song. Recognize this? Maybe not the record cover, but it is I Stop the World, I Melt With You, Modern English. This was a little bit more on the new wave side rather than synth pop, of course, but I wish music could be made like this nowadays. I just don't know what happened. I guess it's one of those times change, music changes. But I wish somebody could bring it back. If you know the song, I Stop the World, I Melt With You. Great track. This right here is a compilation record. It's various artists. And I'm going to take the book out. It came with this book. No, I don't want to take it out. It's wedged in here in this cutout. But what I bought this for was the Mighty Lemon Drops, Out of Hand. And that's also this, the Mighty Lemon Drops. I think I have one other release that I didn't take out. If you're a fan of Echo and the Bunnymen, especially Bring on the Dancing Horses, this sounds a lot like it. Especially when you get those British accents in the music. What a great time that was when all the stuff was coming out. Mighty Lemon Drops, Out of Hand, and it's got that reverb on the guitar. And like I said, if you like Echo and the Bunnymen, you would like this as well. This band, I think they're from Canada on, I think the Wax track, no, Network label, Manufacture. Not sure who I can compare them to, but a synth pop band, not quite like Book of Love, but this is their LP. I have the 12-inch single, which was, I can't remember the title of it. Passion for the Future. That was the big single off of this. A lot like Severed Heads. It's another band. I think they're also from Canada. But look this one up too. If you're writing any of this stuff down, I would suggest that you do. Manufacture. It was actually As the End Draws Near. That's the track. Oaklawn is a label that a few tracks came out on. One was Voyou Houseman, and another one was CCCP, American Soviets. This one here is Microchip League, New York, New York. This is a powerful synth track. Will destroy the speakers in a club if you're not careful. Really thunderous bass line and a lot of whipping sounds in it. Then there's Communicate, a little bit more of a dance track, faster I think. But look this up, look both of those tracks up. Microchip League, New York, and then of course plus Communicate. Another record that I showed by them was, I think her name was Deborah Carmen, and it was Danger in Her Eyes with the backing of Microchip League. You want to put, let's say, sort of industrial synth pop with opera. That's that one. And it's Danger in Her Eyes, Carmen. Now I mentioned earlier, what is one of the biggest club tracks ever? There's a lot of those, so it's hard to say which is which, because some may say Ministry, and the track is Every Day is Halloween. And I'm not sure what he's talking about. I think it had to do with how youngsters were looking in the 80s, and aside from being judged for it, why can't they just be themselves? The track on here is Every Day is Halloween. This right here, I'm surprised it's just not destroyed by fingers and stuff, pulling the record in and out. If you look that track up and you don't know it, then you'll recognize it right away, especially that intro of the beats and that whipping sound of that synth again. Definitely look that one up. So here it is, Ministry and Every Day is Halloween. Now, still speaking of Ministry, Work for Love. If you like Every Day is Halloween, then you're going to love this one too. It's hard to describe these songs. Definitely not going to sing them. But it's hard to describe them. But what I'm showing to you, look them up on YouTube or Spotify, whatever you want. Or if you already know them, then you know what I'm talking about. Ministry, his pretty much only synth pop LP that he made, Alan Jorgensen, is this one right here. And this has got so many great songs on it. My cousin and I listened to this a lot in high school, as well as Some Great Reward by Depeche Mode, Youthquake by Dead or Alive, Duran Duran's Rio. This is one of those albums where every song on it, like Book of Love, their first LP, with I Touch Roses, Boy, Yellow Sky, a handful of others. This is an excellent album. Gosh, I got that glare. I'm sorry about that. But it's called With Sympathy. And I heard, too, if he had it his way, he would reclaim all of these albums. Because if you look at Ministry since, well, going all the way back to Twitch, We Believe, that's got a distorted voice in it. And then you get into Psalm 69, much more harder, I call it raging, just jamming guitars. He really changed. Then there's this one here. I love this one. This is Halloween Remix and Nature of Outtakes. Another fine one to add to a Ministry collection. If you're collecting Ministry and don't have this one, I suggest going out and getting it. This is kind of a funky synth pop track. I'm just going to go closer. I Wanted to Tell Her, and I believe it's also on that album. But this is longer. It's also got a really funky, slower rhythm to it, probably at about 118. It's got a duo in it. He's talking, and then she's talking. Kind of a relationship thing. And the words are, I wanted to tell her, but I stuck to my lies. I wanted to tell her when I looked in her eyes. I needed to tell her. Look that one up as well. Really good track. Anything early Ministry and even later Ministry, it's just the sounds really changed. Went from synth pop to really heavy guitars, especially if you like a band called Buttle Surfers. It's really named for a band, but they're also very raging like that, his later sound. Now, remember this, Murray Head, One Night in Bangkok. This has a rhythm to it, just like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Relax, Duran Duran's Wild Boys. It would mix well with it, but One Night in Bangkok, he's talking about Thailand and everything you could find in it. Something suitable for others, something unsuitable, but it also came from something on the back here. It said from the soundtrack, and it was part 1. I don't think they ever made a part 2, but really good track. Back to Ministry. This one's called The Nature of Love. Faster, and if you were to play this in a goth club, you could drop the needle as the first track, middle track, or the last track for the night, is this one, The Nature of Love. If you never heard it before, find it. I highly suggest that one to you. Do you remember Soft Cell? I'm not going to show you Tainted Love because I'm not in S section of my alphabet going here. I'm talking more about the singer, Mark Almond of Soft Cell. And this track is called The Desperate Hours. This is right around the same time he did Tears Run Rings Around My Eyes. But if you look up this track and you're a Mark Almond or Soft Cell fan, then look this one up too. What do you get when you have just a simple drum line, maybe 114, 116 BPM, and you mash up a whole melting pot of samples from different records over the years? What do you have? Mars Needs Women. You got Pump Up the Volume. The longer version is the best because they really spent their time on adding a lot of those sound effects and stuff and samples from all the other records over time. But here we got Mars, Pump Up the Volume. I would love to see a list of every sample that is put into that record. That would be really interesting. And whoever made that, I'm not sure who Mars is, whoever made that was very talented in doing so, making a track like that. Now we go into New Order, Confusion. Gosh, really got the glare from the plastic, I apologize, but it's on Streetwise. The Confusion that I had before, I had the digital readout, and it was kind of lifted from the sleeve. This one here is more of a domestic release, but Confusion doesn't sound like New Order's usual sound with their guitars and their bass. Like everything's gone green, and their first LP, then you get into Power, Corruption, and Lies. Confusion is a production by Arthur Baker, who is also the backing of Planet Patrol, Africa Bambaataa, World Destruction, with the help on a lot of those, and also he had work to do on this last single I'll be showing to you. What a great producer he is, Arthur Baker. And in that song they shout Confusion. Now we go into something from New Order's Lowlife LP. That is an excellent LP, by the way. If you get New Order Lowlife, it has an OBI wrapping around it, like what Japanese do on their records. But this one here is Subculture. I gotta tell you, gotta be honest, I do not like this club remix at all of Subculture. They should have left it alone because it has the singing of the women in it saying one of these days. It's just not the same. I don't think it held the same darker sound as the original one on Lowlife, but if you're a New Order fan, look up Subculture. Either mix is going to be fine though. You'll get the idea. Great, great sound for that time. Now here's New Order's Murder. This one looks a lot like Thieves Like Us, which I used to have, but I don't. There's a lot of DJs that have that claim. Used to have it, don't anymore, and a lot of reasons why. But this is Murder. This one has sort of banging tribal drums in the beginning. Forgot his name, I think it's Stephen Morris. And then it goes in with the bass line. And then it comes in with the guitar. And pretty much the track is over and over the same thing, just all the way throughout, with a bunch of crashing and yelling sound effects. The Perfect Kiss. This is their big track at that time. I don't remember the lyrics for it, but in the break it's got frogs in the background, heavy on the synths, and a very big club track. That just reminds me of the Palladium in San Francisco, right off of Columbus Street. All this stuff just reminds me of that club. It's no longer there anymore. Most clubs aren't anywhere anymore like they used to be. We get into, at least not in the Bay Area, Shellshock. It's never enough. It's never enough when your heart stops beating. This one was it's got a promo stamp on the back. Really good breakbeat track. I say breakbeat just because it's not your floor to floor bang bang bang. This one is a little bit more on the broken beats on the. Oh, it's got produced by John Robbie. and on factory records. Like anything that's on factory records that's an import out of the UK. Last few records here is this one by New Order. You know what? I've got the thing inside here. There's nothing written on it. I don't remember the name of this, and I don't want to take the record out. It's probably really folded up inside the paper sleeve. But if you remember what it is, I don't remember what it was. That's part of my record collection, though, of New Order. World in Motion. I think this was more around 1988. Good song for its time. When Boxcar came out with their 2 singles, this was also at the same time, and also New Order's Fine Time, right around 88, and I think 89. They were just really pumping out a lot of tracks. So I saved the best for last, and I asked a question earlier, what is your answer for the biggest selling 12-inch single of all time? I don't mean biggest selling 12-inch ever made, but ever sold of all time. Have you figured it out? This is not a giant floppy disk like they used to use on computers in the 80s and the 90s, but this is New Order's Blue Monday, and I bid on this on eBay. I had to have it again. Used to have it, didn't anymore. I got one from Discogs, and it came in this kind of sleeve here. Apparently, when it said this right here, disco, on these kind of records, DJs would just buy them for the discos, and they sold a ton of them just because it said disco on it. New Order's Blue Monday is not, I wouldn't classify it as disco at all. This is one of the biggest synth pop new wave tracks of all time, and that means as records sold. So let me talk about what's in this record. It starts off with the beat, with just a thud thud, and then it pumps harder. That is from Donna Summer's Our Love, where she says, "We'll last forever." It's in the break, and if you look up that song and listen to it, they took that drum line from there. Then you get into Sylvester's You Make Me Feel Mighty Real. That's a high-powered disco track. And then you get into more of the bass line and the synths of Blue Monday. Then that angelic choir sound that they have in this, it's taken from Kraftwerk, and I think the track is Uranium. It's just that ah sound that comes in. And then the guitar that was used in this is taken from Ennio Morricone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And you put all that together and you have New Order's Blue Monday. So that is that pile right there. That is my N and M section of my record collection. So I hope you like what you saw, and like I always like to say this, if you'd like to see more videos, you'd like to see more of my collection, especially all this behind me, that's going to come later on because I still got the rest of my O through Z, Italo disco to go through, regular disco, here's freestyle here, all that breakdance electro, which was right here, the freestyle soul sonic floors, then they got Stevie B to go into that time period. But behind me is all my house and trance from when I was a DJ in San Francisco, the Bay Area, and got to fly out to other states and playing parties. So if you remember the house music scene of the mid-80s until even currently, that's this behind me. Mostly 90s though, so I'll be showing that later. So before going any further, subscribe to my channel and I'll get you future videos. Hit the notifications button, hit the like button, you know what that does for the channel. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you like what you saw. I got more coming, so stay tuned.